Hello, World Civ 106. Welcome to week 11. Oh, here we are. Another challenging week dealing with things that are still hard to really fully comprehend right now. So, um, I've been making this announcement for each of my classes. I'm teaching 3 right now. I'm definitely starting it off letting you all know that I'm still aware that we're having a very difficult time concentrating, and excuse me. And I've noticed in many of my classes, work has been dropping off tremendously. Now, I hope all of you are watching my announcements and that you noticed that I said that I'm just going to take all late work. If you decide you want to turn any in after I give zeros. And I did write, a cut and pasted, and I sent to many of you when I saw you didn't do your work, that I was saying, hey, I will give full points for late work. But again, I also want to remind you that this class is going to finish relatively soon. And so I don't know what provisions the school plans on providing for those that are wanting to deal with this situation and have an extension on this class for work or anything like that. But many of you have come this far with me. I want to encourage you to be able to finish this class with. Let's do this. And even if you have to kind of turn in, if I want to put it this way, half-assed work and get less quality grades, I think many of you still can pull off getting the grade that you want and finishing this class on time. Okay. I just want to remind you, I'm still, even though I've mentioned this in my last announcement and so many announcements, I'm still getting papers for getting to put works cited and dates. And I'm going to still not give you points if you don't have dates in works cited. This is the one very fundamental thing that we cannot compromise with our papers, okay? The other thing is I'm having some folks cut and paste a sentence or two from Wikipedia, doing those kind of things. Well, I see that. That's called plagiarism. Don't go there. If you're feeling overwhelmed with doing work and you're having a hard time, remember, I'm giving you a little extra time if you need it. Call me, contact me, write to me if you need help and to push through. It's better not to turn in anything than have something that is cut and pasted from somewhere else. Just don't do that, okay? I understand the desperateness right now, but we're going to do this together with integrity, okay? And authenticity. So I have your back. Just keep that in mind. And, I just want to also restate, I like to keep positive, but I need to be real. I'm seeing a lot of folks not take this virus serious or think that it's some conspiracy blown out of proportion, that it's only happening to older people and people with immune systems. I really hate it when people are thinking like that. As, what, you don't love your grandma? I don't understand. Like it's only... Well, I want to just say something. I just got on my Facebook feed this morning, and a friend of mine from Finland, who is considerably younger than me, I am 46. I'm sure he's in his early 30s. He's a world traveler. He has a good job, and we're always communicating through various internet sites. I like his travels. He likes mine. He's partying in Korea, having a good time. Blah blah blah, and he just posted on Facebook this morning, him in the hospital, not doing well, in a hospital bed, that he was brought in an ambulance, and the results haven't come back yet, but they pretty much are 99% sure that he has coronavirus, and he's coughing up, he can't breathe. It's serious, and here he is in Finland having this in his 30s, and it's bad. So I want you, and he posted on there, please tell people to stop not taking this serious. So, when you decide to go out to the park with a bunch of friends, are you doing things like that, you don't mean any harm. But I don't know if a lot of you are really understanding the fullness of what could be happening. I actually was sick with the flu shortly after I made my first announcement to you guys. And I made a phone call to the doctors, and the assessment was I probably just had the regular flu because I had nothing in my chest. And I was told that that's where the symptoms are like the flu, but if you get any respiratory issues, that can be a very serious thing. So I had that service available that I could at least make the phone call. I didn't have to go out, didn't have to impact the hospitals, but they told me to self-quarantine just in case. So that's what I've been doing. And this is my cell now, like where I'm most of the time. So let's just not take this lightly. I don't want you to be pessimistic, but if we're going to get through this, it's going to require all of us to treat this as a struggle that we're all fighting together against, and that's by flattening the curve and making sure that this spreads less, and that doctors have times to help the people who get sick, and hopefully, for us to find a way to actually squash this thing. I consider this World War III. It's a global war against a virus, and so it's not normal times, and we have to just understand that, okay? So it's not easy, but we can do this, but you need to take it serious too, okay? So look, we just went over Christianity, Vikings, and the Celts. That's a lot going on there. But I can tell that you all found this to be a really interesting section, and it would have been nice if I could have kind of separated them so we could focus more on all of this great information. But yeah, I was happy to see that most of you were excited to learn something that for many of you actually was very personal, and you weren't offended or uncomfortable with the information. You actually found it kind of rewarding and rewarding and enriching to get that information. And now we're covering Islam, and I think this is also really important too, right? I mean, look. We have a lot of Islamophobia in the West. And what I wanted to do is, like all things, I don't like phobias. I don't like it when people look down or treat each other bad. But there's also real events, real things that create tensions or problems. I didn't want to make this a politically correct set of lectures also, meaning you will see that there's certain things like Christianity, like Judaism, like Hinduism, like all the stuff that we've been covering. History shows that all humans have shown their best and worst side. And they've been able to do that under the umbrella of all religions. So I'm hoping that you're kind of seeing this pattern that I've been showing, is that we can all focus on the negative parts or the positives and kind of distort our own reality, okay? Now, I thought it was kind of interesting that maybe in light of what we're talking about is just to quickly talk about the way that Islam deals with the concept of evil or injustice like we're dealing here, compared to Judaism and Christianity. So, if God is all-powerful, how does one explain a just and God is just? In the Quran, every opening chapter of the Quran, except for Surah 9, chapter 9, starts off with Bismillahir Rahman Rahim, in the name of God, the beneficent and the merciful. Beneficent and the merciful. Rahman Rahim. Okay? And so here we are seeing all of this with the wars and everything. Well, in Islam, there's also a verse in the Quran that says, "Qul a'udhu birabil falaq min shar el khalaq." I take refuge in the Lord of the Dawn from the evil which He created. Now, for a Christian, this is a little jarring. You're taking refuge in the Lord from the evil that He created? Is God evil then? Well, the way that Islam understands it is God is all powerful. Satan exists in the Quran. He's Iblis, the devil, or Shaitan, but he's not really an equal rival. I mean, Christianity wouldn't call Satan equal, but he's kind of treated as such in a certain way, right? I mean, 2 Corinthians 4:4 talks about the God of this age blinding the minds of unbelievers so they wouldn't see the glory of Christ. Now, there's been some debate over the centuries over, is that referring to God or Satan? The traditional interpretation is that it's Satan. But let's think about this for a second. So the Quran says, I take refuge in the Lord from the evil which he created. And then you have the Christian text, 2 Corinthians 4:4 in the New Testament. The God of this age has blinded the mind of unbelievers. Okay, now, if that is referring to Satan, then he's given a lot of power, and he is like a god. He's even called the God. And in Greek, it's otheos. It is that Greek word. There's every translation translates it that way. Or it's referring to God himself, which then makes God sound a lot like the God of the Quran. Now, how do we make sense of this? Jews and Muslims actually have a very similar concept of God's power and wickedness in the world. Christianity is the one that's sort of the odd man out on this, okay? For Judaism, Satan is not really, he's not bad. In fact, he's on God's team. He, as one rabbi said, he is the angel sent by God to be an obstacle to humans, as you see in the book of Job. And he's there to really test the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer Hara. The evil inclination, the good inclination, Tov. Yetzer HaTov is the good inclination, and the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Sorry. And not being this powerful opposition to God. For Judaism and Islam, and actually let me just focus back on Islam, there's a lot of illusions in this world. And it's hard for us to understand the injustice of this world. But ultimately, God's in total control. And that it's our actions as human beings that we do that will give us the reward to go to Jannah, to paradise, or to Jahannam, to hell. Okay? And there's a story in Surah, which one is it? It's a surah it's a story of Moses in the cave. And Moses has to follow this master. A lot of things are gonna happen, and he's not allowed to ask questions. And this mysterious spiritual master does a lot of really disturbing things that really upset Moses. And Moses keeps asking, why did you do all these things? And then he says, finally, okay, I'm going to leave you. I'm done. But I'm going to explain all these things. And all of these things that this mysterious prophet, that he would do that seemed so bad and evil were actually good things. And it was a way of like making Moses understand, you don't fully comprehend the realities of this world and what's happening. And keep in mind that there's always a better result, meaning God is in full control. That's really, in a sense, that's one of the lessons that can be learned from that text. This is the way it explains it. And in a sense, that's kind of the message of Book of Job in the Old Testament, which Jews and Christians believe, which is that Job suffers all these terrible things and he doesn't know why, but he remains true to God, and despite all that, then he gets rewarded at the end. Now, these kind of arguments don't work for atheists or people, or sometimes they turn people into atheists. They just don't buy into it, or certainly agnostic. I'm not here to advocate one argument or the other. I just thought it'd be interesting to show you, the way that these kind of things are attempted to be dealt with, by these traditions. Now, in Christianity, it still ends up being kind of similar. Satan is allowed by God to do all these terrible things, but ultimately in the end, God is going to intervene Satan will be punished and his demons, and righteous humanity will live forever in bliss in heaven, and the wicked will burn in hell. Not every tradition of Christianity believes it in exactly that way. By the way, there's a lot of debate about the nature of hell in Christianity also. But that's how, I mean, even in Christianity, they talked about the real life is not the one on earth, but in heaven. So all the suffering here, no matter what happens, it's in heaven that things are ultimately. Now, the German philosopher Nietzsche would later criticize Christianity for this, saying basically you're rejecting the life that you have and forsaking that to focus on something that he's thinking is not maybe real. So again, I'm just letting you know about all these debates and arguments and discussions that have happened in the world. And right now, we're all finding peace and some sort of stability in whatever tradition that we have, our personal belief to deal with everything going on. And the main reason I wanted to point these things out is not to confuse you, but to just remind you that all of us as human beings for a very long time have been trying to come to terms with things in the world that don't make sense to us. And so when you see your fellow neighbor that's living across the street that might be Muslim or Hindu or Christian, Jewish person, or somebody who doesn't have any spiritual tradition, they're going through this world just like you are, and they're struggling with the same things, and they're finding something to give them peace of mind and give them inner strength to get through all of these things in life that are a great mystery to them. And that's one thing that all the spiritual traditions do reveal, is that human beings do suffer and have confusion about what to make of it. And these different traditions, clearly by trying to resolve them, are showing that it's a natural thing for us to feel this way. So I just wanted you to maybe look at it that way. So look, here we are going through something together, okay? People in China, people in Iran, people in Italy, Spain, the United States, Thailand, Philippines, Latin America, Mexico. I can go on and on, okay? We are all in this together. And I want you to always remember that and feel that, as opposed to some of this divisiveness that comes out in the world, right? According to the biblical tradition, every human being comes from Adam and Eve. Keep that in mind. According to science, every human emerged out of a species coming from Africa. So no matter what tradition you have, you're going to see that all human beings have a one main source. Okay, and feel that. That's all I have to say. All right. Contact me if you need anything. Don't forget. Remember. Okay, I have your back. I'm getting through this semester.